All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Rullo. I'm a counselor at Upper St. Clair High School, and we're so pleased again to have our annual college seminar on becoming a competitive college applicant. We're also pleased again to have Bethel Park High School co-hosting with us again this year, in particular, Mr. Michael Bruce, school counselor at Bethel Park High School. So Michael, thanks for all your help in organizing and planning this event. I also want to say thanks to the Community Foundation of Upper St. Clair in helping to organize and sponsor this event every year. We're lucky to have with us tonight, very fortunate to have with us tonight, 6 college admissions representatives who are going to talk to us about what it is they look for in particular with the college admissions process. For example, the essays, the applications themselves, the letters of recommendation, grade point averages, and so on. And we are going to talk about the impact of COVID on the admissions process as well. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Michael to talk to you further about the purpose of the program and introduce our guest.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Michael Bruce, Bethel Park School Counselor. I want to thank Dr. Rowland for always including me in this program. I love helping them out with this program. Also want to thank Greg Schrader from Revolution Prep for getting this all together and organizing this online event. So thank you, Greg, and your team at Revolution Prep. Again, with this program, we want to, help the students and families understand what's going on in the background and to hear directly from all these admissions representatives about the actual decisions in the admissions processes. So specifically in the admissions officers, what they look for in the admissions process. So this is a lot of fun for me to get the ins and outs and the updates of the ins and outs to this process of admissions. And I always like to say the organized chaos of admissions. So we're going to start off with the introductions, starting with Allegheny College with Miss Linda Clune from Allegheny College, College of Wooster, Ms. Jennifer Winge, Elon University, excuse me if I mispronounce this, Ms. Tofami Alali. I get that right?
Yes.
Oh, good, I tried. Gannon University, Mr. Miles Vida, Kent State University, Mr. A.J. Armstrong, then University of Alabama, Miss Billy Rood. So starting with Linda, we want to start to give the overview of Allegheny College, and then we'll move through the rest of the schools along the way. So Linda, it's all yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. Hi, I'm Linda Clune. Nice to be here tonight and share a little bit more about Allegheny College. Allegheny was founded in 1815. We're the 32nd oldest college in the nation. Of course, we celebrate our history all of the time, but we also are very excited to be recognized as one of the most innovative colleges, always making sure that we're a step ahead in knowing how we need to educate our undergraduates in order to be successful for a lifetime. This is just our quick fact slide a little bit. We are located in Meadville, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. Population of about 40,000. I always say large town, small city. And we have 1,800 students in our campus community, and they are all undergraduate students. They are from 47 states, 70 different countries, and all of them do live on campus. They're all residential. About 50% of our incoming class always is from more than 2 hours away. So we really are a residential college community. Collaboration is a key at Allegheny, and of course, collaborating in the classroom, learning from your peers, having conversation, dialogue, debates in the classroom is always really important. We have very few lecture classes. Our average class size is 18, our 11 to 1 student faculty ratio. And one of the things that's celebrated is that our faculty definitely love to teach. They love to put you at the center of their universe, really. And we were recognized as the top 20 for best undergraduate teaching by faculty from US News and World Report. Even though we are a smaller community, we do big things and accomplish great goals. And one of our goals 10 years ago was to be carbon neutral by 2020. And so we lowered our carbon emissions and we did it. And so we are the first college in Pennsylvania to reach carbon neutrality, and also the 8th in the nation. We're very proud to be a Colleges That Change Lives school, one of the 40 the colleges that change lives, because it really tells you a lot about the mission. What we want you to accomplish, we want you to accomplish more than just that piece of paper and your degree. We want you to transform, throughout your 4 years. We want you to evolve as a person and a thinker and a learner. What distinguishes Allegheny? We kind of break it down into 3 large areas. Our major minor combination is how we deliver our liberal arts and science education. 100% of our students do undergraduate research and also defend it. And we also want you to have experiential learning. So not only do we want you to learn in the classroom, but we also want you to then be able to take that learning from the classroom and have hands-on learning through an internship or study abroad or service opportunity. And of course, that research as well. And you can do those things as early as your first year. So the major minor combination, just to highlight that, every student is required to have a major and you're required to have a minor. And not only that, it has to be in 2 different divisions. On the Venn diagram that you see in front of you, the circles really represent the divisions. And so if you're a student who loves chemistry and always wants to do, you want to do chemistry, but you love creative writing, well, Allegheny might be for you, because that definitely fits into our model of major minor combination. We do this because of 2 things. It better prepares you for an ever-changing world like we've seen in the past year. But also, you're looking at things through a different lens, but also you're able to continue to take things that you enjoy regardless of what your major is. You don't have to declare a major until the end of your sophomore year, so you have plenty of time. We also have seminars that we call building blocks up to our senior comprehensive that focus on research, focus on speech, and then also writing. For your senior comprehensive, you as a senior will do original research, regardless of whether you're a theater major, a science major, or a history major, and you'll do original research on a topic that you were excited to investigate. You propose it, you conduct it, and then you defend it, much like a master's thesis. Of course, we also want you to learn outside the classroom and have fun in activities. We feel like, just like in high school, your activities really lend a lot to your learning. Most of our students are involved in 3 to 5 different organizations on campus of our 120 plus available, whether they be affinity groups, athletic groups, whether they also are things that you did in high school or something new to you. All of these things then also lead to, of course, success for our graduates, either gaining employment. About 60% go into employment right away after they graduate. 30% go on to graduate school, medical school, law school. And we enjoy an acceptance percentage at twice the national average. And then, of course, top 10% or 10% go into service. Service is at the core of who we are as a community. Teach for America, Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, or some of the top. I know during the panel discussion, we're going to talk a lot about application requirements, but I did want to show this slide just to highlight that we do have a holistic approach, and we try not to have barriers. We have no application fee. We've been test optional since long before the pandemic for about 6 years. And so really it's a holistic approach to really finding those students who are curious learners and also people that want to contribute to the college community. This is how if you want to take a screenshot of this, mindovermajor.allegheny.edu. A lot of fun you can have by looking at what major and minor combinations. Also come visit us and learn more My email is on here too, lcloon@allegheny.edu, and we're excited about you learning more. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Jennifer, if we can pass this to you. Jennifer, you might be on mute.
Dr. Rollo, thank you. You would think I would know that by now. So here at the College of Wooster, we understand that as you start to categorize schools that you're interested in, we can start to look a lot alike when you're visiting us through the web and obviously reading about us. So, my goal tonight is to help you understand what we believe are our distinctions at the College of Wooster. And then obviously, if they resonate with you, we hope that you'll explore more. Those three things that I'm just going to touch upon today, really is related to our local community and how our campus really expands beyond the physical footprint and how our students take advantage of our great little city. The fact that we do build a global campus through the students that we have. We have 2,000 undergraduate students at Wooster. And then really our cornerstone experience, that capstone senior research experience that's so recognized internationally. So I'll start with where we're located. We're just about 2.5 hours away from your home, so not too far away across the border in Ohio. We're located just an hour south of Cleveland, about 90 minutes north of Columbus. And really, Wayne County is a great location that many businesses and corporations and organizations have made it home. So the city takes advantage of that, and students can obviously take advantage of that. So the entrepreneurial spirit, the fact that we're a county seat, there's great festivities like you see here. Of course, this was pre-pandemic for our winter festival, but shopping and service learning and opportunities to intern at the Cleveland Clinic or our Worcester Community Hospital. So wonderful opportunities to really explore your careers, gain some service learning, and not have to wait to a college break to do that. This is just a quick view of campus, because I think what's really interesting is when we do have folks visit and tour, one of the most common things that families ask is, now remind me, how many students come to Wooster? And so I remind them that we're at our capacity at 2,000, that's a very intentional size that we think helps really create the type of residential and academic experience that is best for graduates. And they say, it really feels like a much larger campus, maybe more like 5,000 to 7,000 students. And that's because it is a pretty expansive campus. It's over 240 acres when you include our athletic facilities and golf course, but then just the green space, the trees, the facilities, the modern facilities that we have. The students really enjoy these spaces in a lot of different ways. And I also think it's the energy, right? This enthusiasm and engagement that students have to hang out with one another. And so I just thought I'd touch upon that when we bring over 65 countries onto our campus and nearly every state in the country, and we're really intentional about that diversity, it really does create high energy and a chance to get to know each other and learn from each other, not only in the classroom, but through activities and through just hanging out. And so we are the most internationalized campus in the state of Ohio. We're really proud of that. And we're very intentional about making sure that students become global citizens through those more formal and informal opportunities. That can happen through the 130 different student organizations that we have. We know that so many of our students really find ways to combine their interests, whether that's through athletics or our music ensembles. Our music department really mirrors a conservatory, but refuses to be a conservatory because it wants to be inclusive and open to all of our students, no matter what they study. And then, of course, the performing arts as well. And so not only do we prepare you to be a global citizen while you're on campus and with those interactions and those academic experiences, but we want to make sure you get off campus too. And we are doing that very creatively this semester, but we know that as time goes on, we're going to be able to get students off campus again for study abroad opportunities, for Trek courses where our students take a class in the spring and then travel together with their professor to different parts of the world. Here's Marco Ricato, one of our students who just graduated. We had, for the last 3 years, a student at the Athens Democracy Forum that is hosted by the New York Times, So wonderful chances to connect and network and obviously see the world. The energy also, I think, surrounds these cherished traditions that small schools sometimes are not as well known for. You know, you're going to hear from some large universities tonight that, you know, have this great school spirit. And so I love that Wooster has that level of school spirit, but obviously in a smaller scale. So here's a great example of at our home football games, our pipers, because we have this Scottish heritage, gather on the hill above the stadium and charge down the hill with the football team arm in arm as part of that unified school spirit. We love that. And then recently, this tradition happened, but very creatively with social distancing, where students like to fill the archway of one of our main academic buildings with snow. And the legend is that if they fill it all the way to the top, as you can see, it's pretty large, classes will be canceled the next day. So we love that fun part of our campus life. But that cornerstone experience is this opportunity for research. We've had many students, or for many years, and really it's about 80 years, the Princeton provost became Wooster's president and brought along this idea of undergraduate research, that you don't have to wait to be in a master's or PhD program to take advantage of research in your field. And so it's important to know that that is a cornerstone of our experience, that in fact, we've kind of built our curriculum backwards. So as a student enters in their first year, we start to introduce them to topics and techniques and writing and communication skills. So by the time they've declared a major or minor or double major, whatever it is that they choose to do, by the time that they are a junior, they can start to really dig into topics that interest them. And the key is they're not alone. They're working side by side, one-on-one. It's considered a class of one with a professor who is just as excited about that topic. And I think when we hear the word research, we think very immediately to the science labs, but it's important to know that that research takes many forms through creative work and analytical work as well. And I think a lot of folks ask, well, why is that important and why should I do it? And I think it's really important to understand that employers and graduate schools are starving for students that have outcomes like these. And we know that research, taking on a significant project, helps students to develop the skills that are needed in their career fields, like creative problem solving and analytical skills and research and communication skills. And it's easy for us to say that we are the premier college for mentored research, but it's much better when other institutions or organizations or publications recognize that as well. Niche.com, Princeton Review, Fisk Guide, and here with the US News and World Report, since 2002 have asked presidents and provosts and deans who does undergraduate research best, as well as this idea of a senior capstone experience. And 2 schools have made both of those lists since the inception of that survey, and that's Wooster and Princeton. So we're really happy to be the fully undergraduate institution that does that so well. In fact, you might have heard on NPR recently or read in the New York Times or perhaps on CBS this morning, but Ron Lieber, who is a pretty popular columnist for Your Money in the New York Times, has recently published a book. And he traveled the country, learned a lot about the college search, and really wanted to hone in on, you know, what is it that you're actually paying for in college, and why, you know, why should you pay or invest in certain college aspects? What's that value aspect? And out of all the schools that he visited and the research that he did, he chose to write a chapter of one school that best represents value aspects like great teaching and diversity and small classes and, you know, opportunities for experiential learning. And that one school is Wooster. So we're really proud of that as well. Wrap all of this together, and obviously you have successful outcomes. We're really proud of what our graduates have done. We have many based in Pittsburgh if you'd like to connect with them. So we'd be happy to do that. And as Linda said, we'd love for you to connect with us if you are excited about what you hear tonight. And so this is just the quick website that you can do to start to do that. Thank you, everyone.
Jennifer, thank you. Appreciate that. Tofumi, can we go to you next?
Unmuted. Perfect. Alrighty. Alrighty, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tofumi Olalia, and I'm the admissions counselor at Elon, working with students from New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania. So excited to be here tonight to talk more about Elon University with you all. So to begin, where is Elon? Elon is located in Elon, North Carolina. And as you can see on the map here, we are centrally located in North Carolina. So we have the Greensboro, Charlotte, and the Raleigh-Durham areas surrounding us, which provides amazing locations for students to kind of explore and hang out during their free time or during breaks as well. Greensboro is about 25 minutes away from us, Charlotte being about an hour and a half, and then the Raleigh-Durham area being about 45 minutes again, so centrally located there. Not only do our students love the cities surrounding us, but they also love the town of Elon as well. The town of Elon, the downtown area, is just located right across from our campus. And there are restaurants, coffee shops, and areas for students to kind of explore and hang out immediately on campus. And then the city of Burlington is just a couple of miles away. So not only will I talk about the things that there are to do on campus, also wanted to talk about the surrounding area and what fun things you can find around us as well. About 2.5 hours away from the mountains, and then about 3 hours away from the coast there. And Elon is a medium-sized private institution. So we have an undergraduate enrollment of around 6,200 students with a graduate enrollment of around 800 students. So medium-sized there. And I describe it as being that perfect fit where you're able to develop these close-knit relationships, friendships, and bonds while potentially meeting a new person every day you're on campus. So small enough to facilitate those meaningful relationships, but also large enough for you to explore and grow in these different areas that you're seeking to. And then we have 80% of our students coming from out of state, with these top enrollment states being in the Northeastern region. So Pennsylvania being our 4th top enrollment state there, New Jersey, New York. So lots of students coming from those Northeastern regions and finding that sense of community and comfort on campus here at Elon. And then 47 states represented. We have 48 different countries represented. And it is Elon's top priority to ensure that we are recruiting a diverse array of students. And I'm proud to say that 19% of our students identify as racially and ethnically diverse. And not only do we have students represented of varying backgrounds on campus, but we have support in place for them, different clubs and organizations and centers on campus that create a space for students to come together and learn about themselves and learn about others, but also educating themselves and others as well. So shifting a bit now to that academic experience. As you can see by these numbers here, Elon is committed to providing that smaller learning environment where you're able to engage one-on-one with faculty members. So our student to faculty ratio is 12:1. Average classroom size will have 20 students, and all of our classes are actually capped at 33. So you'll never have more than 33 students in a class at all during your 4 years at Elon. And then at Elon, when you apply to the university, you don't have to then apply to a specific school or program. You would just officially declare your major by the midway point of your sophomore year in order to begin officially in that school or program. So Elon believes that it's okay for students to come and not have it completely figured out, or maybe have an idea, but also want to explore different areas of interest as well. So really cool, you can actually have a major in 2 different schools and a minor in the 3rd schools. And you'll find that a majority of our students will have double majors and double minors and are able to balance and navigate that so easily because of our academic calendar. So we run on a 4-1-4 academic calendar, which means that our students are taking 4 classes in the fall and the spring semester, and then there's an optional winter term in January, which we call J-term. So students will use this to add on a major or minor, like I've mentioned, or maybe take a class that's a little more challenging and they just want to devote time to that one class, or study abroad, complete an internship, do a service project, or complete a research study, which kind of segues me perfectly into what we call the Elon experiences. So all 5 of these that you see on the screen here are all experiential learning opportunities, which is essentially the opportunity for you to apply what you're learning in the classroom to these real world settings and environments, which is ultimately where you'll be living and working in after Elon as well. So 80% of our students will complete at least one study abroad program. Many will go abroad more than once. 88% of students will complete at least one internship. Of that 88, 67% of those are leading to job offers from those companies. So not only developing those skills and gaining that experience during their undergrad, but also setting them up for success after Elon as well. Around 50% of students will conduct a research study, which is an amazing opportunity for you to have that one-to-one interaction and faculty mentorship as well. Service learning, which is essentially actually going into the community, whether on campus or locally, and really finding solutions to these real world issues and problems. So that citizenship there. And then lastly, leadership. The Elon student is a leader, and there's many different ways for you to get involved in leadership, with almost 80% of our students being involved in a leadership role on campus. And then to provide some of our rankings here for you, number one, best run college. And one of my favorites to talk about is our study abroad program. We are ranked number one in the US for best study abroad program, with different locations pre-COVID-19, ranging from Shanghai to Florence, London, South Africa. And our Global Learning Center works amazing with students for these dream locations that you may have always maybe wanted to travel for those to become realities for you there. And there's some important details for you. We will be kind of diving deeper into all of these things later today, but just kind of wanted to give you a general overview of what Elon is looking for. I have our mid-ranges for our GPA there. We do take into account your essay, demonstrating interest, and then we are test optional as well, which we'll discuss a little bit later on today, but test scores are not required. In no way will your application be affected if you choose not to submit those test scores, and we will remain so for the next 2 academic cycles to come as well. And then I also wanted to talk about our holistic application review process. So at Elon, when we review your applications, we're going through and we're actually reading them one by one. You know, the entire application is meaningful. And we want to make sure that we're looking at your whole picture, your whole application there, who you are as a student, rather than just those numbers. So your extracurricular activities, as well as recommendations if you choose to submit them, and also your attributes and your ability to thrive on campus. So that big picture there. And kind of coming to the end, here's some dates and deadlines for you. Our early action, early decision date or deadline are both November 1st. Early action is non-binding, so no agreement necessary with that. And you do submit your application November 1st, and you'll hear back December 20th. Early decision is binding, so you're essentially saying that Elon, you're committing to Elon at that time of application. Then I have our scholarship deadlines there and our regular deadline. And then also wanted to provide my contact information for y'all here, as well as our social media handles. We've been doing Facebook Live since June of last year, so great resource for additional information on Elon, as well as our social media account on Instagram. And we are open for tours, and we have been providing tours on a smaller scale since June of 2020. So smaller information sessions, socially distance, and then you'll go out on tour with just your family and one tour guide. So really smaller group setting there as well. But I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen and hand it over.
Tofumi, thank you so much for giving us an overview of Elon. Appreciate that. Miles, can we go to you next?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miles Vita, and I am the Associate Director for Undergraduate Admissions with Gannon University. For those of you wondering, Associate Director is a Latin term of old guy of office, as I am currently celebrating my 14th plus year here as a member of the Gannon community. More specifically, though, I am the direct counselor for both Bethel Park and Upper St. Clair High School, and have been visiting both of these high schools for years. When I say I'm the old guy of the office, my first visits to Bethel Park were pre-construction Bethel Park, when you used to have to park at the ice rink and check the amusement park map "You are here" sign in order to find your way to the counseling office and whatnot. But I truly enjoy working with students from both of your high schools, amazing individuals. I'm an alum of Gannon, very proud alum of Gannon. And when I was in your shoes, kind of researching this process, I was a first generation college kid. So for my journey, it's been cool to be the guy who needed help, now to be the counselor who kind of gives back. I'm going to keep this short and sweet and present you with kind of three thoughts or 3 ideas with regards to choosing a college. I think those 3 filters include size, they include identity, and they include location. The students who are most successful with Gannon, who are most engaged with Gannon, who are most happy with Gannon, want a small school from column A, they want a private school from column B, and they want something that's urban or urban-ish located in the downtown district of Erie. For anyone else who wants to learn more about campus, I'd be more than happy to chat with you guys one-on-one in the breakout session later this evening. And thank you so much.
Miles, thank you. Appreciate that very much. AJ, can we go to you right now for an overview with Kent State?
Yeah, most definitely. So hi, everybody. My name is AJ Armstrong. I am one of the admissions counselors at Kent State University. And so admissions counselor, kind of stealing the other upset. I'm just on the lowest end. So I just started out as my career in admissions. So I am going to share my screen. I promise to keep my presentation as short as I can. I do apologize about that. So first and foremost, hopefully you guys can see Kent State University is located in Northeast Ohio. So we're a little over an hour and a half away from Pittsburgh. We're about 50 minutes away from Cleveland, about 15 minutes away from Akron. And then we are about 2 hours away from Columbus. So it's really not too far at all. And then whenever you are looking more to Kent itself, we do have an amazing downtown area. So it is just a small, vibrant town that we have actually just completely renovated. There's amazing places to go eat, amazing places just to go hang out, some hiking trails, biking trails. It's absolutely awesome. We even have our own kayak drop-off point as well. And then a little bit of just what to expect here at Kent State for academic wise. Really our mid-range is anywhere from a 3.16 to a 3.81 cumulative GPA. Our average ACT is a 23, but we really range from a 20 to a 26. And then our SAT of a 1040 to a 1220 with an 1130 being our average. So we do not have a preference over ACT or SAT at all. It's totally up to you on which one you would actually like to submit. And then just to also let you know, we are test optional this year. So you do not have to feel that you have to send in a score, and we actually just got approved to be test optional next year as well. So that's something we're very excited about. Next, we do have over 350 different majors and programs. So really you can find anything that you are looking for here at Kent State. And it's all separated into 10 different academic colleges. And then the 11th is the Honors College. So the Honors College, we were one of the first honors colleges in the entire country. So it's very prestigious and we're very excited about that. But then in general, just to give you a quick overview of a couple of them, like the College of Aeronautics and Engineering, we do have our flight program. We do have the largest fleet for the entire state of Ohio of 32 separate aircrafts that our students are able to fly the moment they get to campus. Looking more to architecture, we do actually have a 5-year master program. So where the first 4 years you're doing a lot of your undergrad work, in your senior year, you actually start working more into that master's level courses. And then you can finish up with Kent State in 5 years and enter the workforce. Enter the workforce. Lastly, the largest one I also do want to talk about is nursing. So nursing, we are very excited to say we actually produce 42% of the nurses in the state of Ohio. So we are one of the top nursing programs and it's absolutely awesome. So if you're really looking for anything in there, Kent State's probably a pretty cool school for you to come to. And then we are a part of a larger campus network. So we are 8 total campuses. We have our Kent campus and 7 regional campuses throughout Northeast Ohio. We do have living learning programs. So basically that is connected to an academic college. So if you want to be surrounded by other students within College of Aeronautics and Engineering, for example, you get to do that. And we do see a direct correlation of an increase in GPA as well as better community built within that population for students as well. We do have a 2-year living requirement. So we did that just because, your first year, you're still kind of learning the ropes, as we might talk about a little bit today as well, where time management is key. And you really need to start practicing that going into your senior year. And then once you finish up your senior year of high school, you start to realize what you've kind of been making time for. That plays a role into your first year in your undergrad, wherever you are. And then it really benefits you going to your second year as well. So you can join different clubs and organizations, be a larger part of your community as well. But again, I know I wanted to try and keep this as short and sweet, as simple as possible. So just to give you a little bit of an overview though, here is all of our handles. We were going live on Instagram every single Monday at 3 o'clock. We are also doing Facebook Lives as well. So if you ever want to come check us out there, just go ahead and connect with us on Facebook. And then just to let you know, we are waiving our application fee as well. And then again, we are test optional. So a lot of things are taking place at Kent, a lot of new things, but I'll be more than happy to speak with you in our breakout session as well.
AJ, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Billy, can we go to you now for the University of Alabama?
Hey, everybody. Let me get my screen up here for you. Okay. Oh, let's do slideshow. You'd think I was new at this. Anyway, oh, and it is still not running. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. Let's see. Okay, there we are. You know, we haven't been on Zoom like all year. Anyway, my name is Billy Rude. I am the local regional recruiter for the University of Alabama. Like Miles, I've been around forever. I think this is year 16 in admissions. I actually worked for a small private university in the area. So tonight I am actually happy to take off my Alabama hat, if that is helpful, and kind of just give you perspectives, you know, from big and large schools. But for now, I'm representing the University of Alabama. Happy to help you all. Like I said, I am located in Pittsburgh. So here to help you guys. I'll tell you a little bit about the school. I'll try to keep it quick because I know some of you are probably already familiar with Alabama. Some of you might have seen us win yet another national football championship last month. So yay, Roll Tide. I know we've got some Alabama parents on tonight. But Alabama is not just all about football. I promise it's not. In fact, this past year, our average GPA was a 3.8. 40% of our students had a 4.0 or higher, and 40% had a 30 ACT or higher. So I promise it is not just a football school. We've got lots of awesome programs. We're always a leader in enrolling national merit scholars. So if you happen to be a national merit finalist or one of your friends is, please tell them they have to look at Alabama. We've got one of the best packages for scholarships in the country. We're also number2 in the US for our internship placement. So tons of great opportunities after graduation at for leading up to jobs at Alabama. So these are some of our enrollment numbers. We're a large Division I research university. So we're a big school. We've got about 33,000 undergrad students. Our incoming class is usually just under 7,000. This year, I am so excited. I think right now we've got like 16 applications from Upper St. Clair, which is huge for being, you know, 12 hours away in Alabama. So really excited about that. Bethel Park, I haven't checked you, but we've got a really great group from Upper St. Clair. So that's exciting. About 60% of our students do come from out of state. So please don't worry that you're not from Alabama, that you don't say y'all, because you will. You'll come home saying y'all. It only takes about 2 weeks of being down there. Every time I'm down on campus, I come home saying it. So 60% of the population is in the same boat as you. They don't know other people. They're looking to meet, you know, people from all over the world. We do have over 200 different programs to study. Some of the top ones I just want to point out that I see a lot of interest from Pennsylvania. Engineering. We've got a fantastic College of Engineering, fully accredited master's program, 5-year tracks, doctorate programs, co-ops. Anything in like sport broadcasting is pretty unique down at Alabama because you have that kind of football nation down there. Business, and then of course, because we're a research university, anything with pre-med or any of those pre-health sciences, we really do a nice job at helping set you up for med school. We've got a higher than average acceptance rate getting into med schools. Real quick glimpse of campus. We do have a 1,000-acre campus. We do have the biggest Greek system in the nation, but again, just like football, we're not all football and Greek life. So I know sometimes people see on Instagram, you know, it looks like everybody's in a sorority. That is not true. 30% of our students are, which means the majority are not. So we've got 600 other clubs and organizations. If being in a fraternity or sorority is not your thing, we've got 3 dining halls on campus, something really cool. We've got 2 fitness centers with rock climbing walls, a lazy river, and a water slide. So average temperature is about 70 degrees. This week it's been a little colder, but you can definitely enjoy that water slide a lot longer than you could in Pennsylvania, that's for sure. Our application is super easy. I won't go into too much details, but if you're a senior on here, you still have time to apply. You have to go directly to our website. Next year, we will be part of the Common App. Finally, woohoo! But we do not require essays or letters of recommendation. So that's makes life much easier. Our application, whoa, I'm gone. Whoops. Okay, I hope I'm back. Our application takes about 10 minutes. So super easy. Scholarships for out of state are fantastic. This is a glimpse of our automatic merit scholarships. We can talk more one-on-one with about that later. We are located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, so it's going to be about a 12-hour drive from the Pittsburgh area. And we are open for visits. So as I said, I'm your local recruiter. I'm here to help you. We've got a really great network of Pittsburgh area current parents who are willing to help talk to you if you have some questions or you're feeling nervous. We do a send-off party every year so everyone from the area can get to know each other. But if you have a chance to get down, please reach out to me. Do not be afraid of me. I'm a regular person. I'm here to help you. You can text me, call me, email me. But if you are going to visit, please, please, please reach out to me so I can make sure that we make the most of your time on campus. That's all I'm going to say for tonight or for now. And I'll leave you with a roll tide.
Billy, thank you so much. Appreciate the overview, and to all the other representatives for the overviews of your colleges and universities. All right, at this point, we are going to move into the roundtable discussion. But before we do, students and parents, I want to make sure that you are aware we are going to have breakout rooms. So if you want to meet with the representatives, not maybe so much one-on-one, but in small group, particular questions you'd like to ask, that will be your opportunity at that point in time. So right now, we are going to get started with the panel. So I do want to throw this out to everyone. We're in COVID time, and I'm sure this is having quite an impact on the admissions process. So before we go into GPA, weighted and unweighted, and so on, if we could just hear some input from you about how COVID has impacted the admissions process at your schools. And whoever would like to go first.
I can go first.
Thank you.
So obviously we know that this has been a huge change for all of you, and we want you to know that overwhelmingly all colleges and universities are being flexible through this time. I know for us, from an admissions perspective standpoint, it obviously has created some interesting opportunities to connect with all of you and provide virtual engagement that you never had access to previously. It really has opened up how much content and connections we can now make virtually. So please take advantage of that, especially juniors and sophomores that you're just starting to get, I know that you're excited to get to visit campuses, but what a wonderful way to do that. From a review and an assessment process, Wooster had already made a decision to go test optional. We had done research. I mean, how apropos that students had done a validity study for us, and we had made that determination before the pandemic. But we are test optional now. But I think it also has affected how we review really your performance, but decisions that you've made from last spring through this year. We know we're hoping next year is going to be a little bit more normal for you, but we obviously are going to be much more understanding about your trajectory in terms of your grade performance. We hope that you will continue to, challenge yourself and take advantage of more rigorous courses. That's probably most important for the Wooster review, is looking at that trajectory of rigor. And we also understand that your social life and engagement has changed pretty significantly. So we don't expect you to have that full, robust resume. It might look a little different. And so having conversations with the representatives like you have here on the call tonight, but having a chance to share your story and how COVID particularly affected you, you'll be able to do that through the common application. There's a section for that, and that will stay on next year for the juniors in the room, but certainly through personal conversations too.
Thank you. Anyone else want to?
Just to kind of echo everything that Jennifer mentioned as well, Elon is also, being very flexible in working with students. This past year has been like no other, and everyone is navigating it together for the first time. So we're really committed to making sure that, ensuring that we're having these conversations with students to really understand where they are and meeting everyone where they are, given the circumstances at hand. So with that, we've offered many virtual programmings, really utilizing technology, social media as an outlet to really interact with you all. So we're doing, like I mentioned, Facebook Lives, we're doing virtual information sessions for students who are unable to visit campus. We're doing Q&As on Instagram, and we're also on Zeme, which is a mobile app to kind of connect with other students who also may be interested in Elon, as well as admissions counselors. So meeting you all where you are in terms of these different platforms that you're using to help further you in that college search and decision-making process. From the application review and admissions point of view as well, like I mentioned, we are test optional and will remain test optional for the next 2 years. And even then, we'll then reassess to see if that will stay around. But then also, having conversations with students. We definitely want to be as accessible as possible, especially with the different circumstances and different events that have happened in specific lives of students. We want you to feel comfortable to come to us and really talk to us about your application, or maybe why your GPA had a downward trend this year. And we also have a section on the Common App as well that gives you an opportunity to provide that additional information. And then also looking at your activities and your resume. We understand that you haven't been able to do as much as you've maybe been able to do in the past or hoped in doing in this year. And we want to hear about that, kind of going back to that holistic application review process, because that's who Elon is and we've always been. This year, it hasn't been too hard of a shift in reviewing the application in that lens, because we've always wanted to look at the application and that student in that whole picture and that whole view there. So definitely do reach out to me as your admissions counselor to further have these conversations and just let us know what's going on, because we use all of that in the application and admissions process.
Tough me, thank you.
And I would echo the same, for Allegheny. Luckily we had been already test optional, so we didn't have a switch there. However, we've been surprised at just the increase of our personalized approach, right? So, I love Zooming with students, and we make ourselves available after school as well, and even on weekends. And so definitely, I think a lot of people are doing that. And we want to hear about you. We want to hear more. And I would say just make sure that you don't think that it's an excuse when you let us know things. It's just explaining things, right? We want to know, why you're having difficulty. I know I read an application the other day that they had to drop out of all their activities because their parents were healthcare workers and they had to take care of all their younger siblings after school. And that's an important thing for us to know. And also a really important thing for you to note on your activities section. Your applications are going to look different. Your junior year of what you've done, or sophomore year, wherever you are right now, this year is going to look different. And just make sure that you put that information on our applications, because we appreciate that additional information.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else on that?
If I could at least have an opportunity to talk about the positive, and that positive I do believe is the opportunity that we're in right now to boost interpersonal communication and personal relationships. The idea of visiting a college campus is kind of difficult right now. You're not getting as much access in terms of boots on the ground, in terms of visiting and seeing and touching and doing and, you know, overnight visits and all those things. But the students that I have worked with this past cycle who are seniors for fall 2021, this is the strongest engaged group of students that I have ever seen, and I have built stronger relationships with those students. And to take that one step farther, is you guys have amazing resources in your high school. The school counselors that put on a program like this, both Michael and Bill and, you know, Jen Kirk and those types of people are just absolutely fantastic. And for me as a professional, I have been able to strengthen those relationships. And so the counselors at the college end and the counselors at the high school end have had to take this problem or issue and then come together and be able to strengthen those conversations to be sure the students are getting what they need. So if anything, if you want to spin it to a positive, is I've had stronger relationships with my students and with the high school counselors that I work with in the greater Pittsburgh area.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. That's great to hear. Thank you.
I'll chime in too. I do think that we all pretty much probably have a pretty similar answer, that we do all understand how difficult this year has been. You know, and like Linda said, they're not excuses, but sometimes it does help us to just understand why something may be a certain way. I will just quickly say, like Miles, you know, the positive that I'm finding is that we have so many virtual events right now, and I know they're not always as engaging or fun as being on campus, but sometimes you can't come to campus, or sometimes you just want to learn about something really quick, or you're laying in bed and you're in your pajamas and you can log in and do this. So I'm hoping that this kind of lasts forever, because at Alabama, we not only have just like a virtual campus tour, we have virtual info sessions on everything that you would typically do on campus. If you want to learn about engineering, you log in and go to an engineering info session. If you want to talk to a Greek life participant, you can go to a session and learn about Greek life. If you just want to talk to a current student, we have a session where you can log in and just talk to a current student. So you couldn't do this in the past. Alabama is test optional this year because of this. We are in review for keeping this next year. And somebody had asked in the chat box if we think this will be a trend. Personally, I think it will be, but that is just me. Don't put that in writing. I know this is recorded, but I mean, I see this coming to become a trend. But we are this year, and hopefully we'll be for next year too.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate that. All right, at this point, I sort of want to move to grades, weighted and unweighted GPAs, if we can talk about that. And again, you sort of have these items in front of you, the panelists. Can you talk a little bit about how you weigh, for example, like an honors, AP, or IB, when you're looking at a transcript, just so the students and parents have a clear understanding? Whoever would like to go first.
So at Elon, we go through a recalculation process when reviewing GPAs. So because we are a liberal arts institution, we're wanting to look specifically at your core curriculum classes. So your English, your math, your history, and the languages that you might have taken. So in that process, we recalculate your GPA. And in doing so, if you've taken honors courses, we'll add that into the process there. If you've taken AP as well as IB courses, we factor all of that into your new GPA that we've formed for you there. And we do also work really closely with students who, some high schools that don't offer AP courses, honors courses, or maybe don't offer GPAs. Our records department works really well with high schools and students to ensure that you are still being reviewed and acknowledged in the same lens as other students who maybe do have those weighted and GPAs that may look a little different from what you have at your high school. And we don't have a preference for if it's like, if you've taken more honors, we're not going to say, well, this is better than someone who maybe hasn't taken honors, because we also understand that not every school offers honors courses or AP or IB courses. So we're looking specifically at your transcript and the grades that you've achieved based on what is available to you there. So you'll probably hear me echo again that holistic review process, but that entails all of that there. So to answer your question.
I do think that's an important point, is that it's all about context, right? You start with the context of the institution that the student is applying from. So understanding Bethel Park, understanding Upper St. Clair, and really the course opportunities, the classroom experience, the guidance that students are receiving, as well as, you know, the number of students going on to four-year institutions and two-year institutions. So understanding the culture of that place is going to be important to us, and that's a big part of what we do. And then based on that, what's the context of the individual, right? And understanding you as an individual. What are your strengths? You know, what comes a little bit more easily to you, and what's going to be a little bit more challenging. And so that will help us understand really that trajectory that I was talking about earlier. You know, this is not just your junior and senior year. You know, a place like Wooster is going to look at your growth from 9th to 12th grade. And we understand that you were a very different student in 9th grade than you are in 11th grade. And so we understand that journey, but looking at the decisions that you made and the performance that you did in those classes. And so I like to call the transcript the heart of the application. It weighs the most in our decision. And so looking at that trajectory, looking at rigor in areas, knowing that both of your schools, Bethel and Upper St. Clair, you have so many options. You know, you have accelerated courses and honors, you have AP, you have college and high school, you have opportunities for dual enrollment. So we understand you have lots of options. And so really looking at what's going to be best for you to help you perform best and to grow, but also to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. We'll understand that. I know that in one of the sections on our outline says, you know, would you rather see a B in an honors course than an A in just a regular college prep? And I would think that most of us are going to say yes. I mean, definitely at Wooster, we would much rather you take that risk, challenge yourself, grow, understand a little bit more about a challenging course load and how to manage your time, and get that lower grade than the higher grade. So we do understand that.
I agree with what others have said. I would say also just to highlight off of what Jen just said is, you know, think about it as appropriate challenge too. Don't be driven by how many numbers of, you know, AP courses you need to take or you think you need to take. You know, think about your progression in your challenge. And at Allegheny, we like to see that you progressively have, you know, challenged yourself, right? It may not be across the curriculum like others have said, but in your strength areas, we want you to do that. And in that course, it is much better to, you know, make that challenge, learn to understand how to navigate that challenge, because that will help you, even if you get a lower grade, because that's going to help you in bridging into your college level experience.
And then also I would just kind of add to that too, you know, make sure it's an educated challenge, if that makes sense. So if you know that you struggle in math and maybe you took an honors course your freshman year, maybe sophomore year, and you really kind of saw like a drop, like maybe you were in your freshman year, all A student, you decide I'm going to challenge myself and go with that honors, and then that honors geometry course, maybe it dropped you a little bit, right? We don't want you to also continue just to hinder your grade point average just by taking honors courses. Like, make sure you're being educated in that decision. You know, I would rather see a student try, they challenge themselves, they realize, you know what, that honors course wasn't for me, but I was doing really well in this accelerated or this advanced or college prep course. I'm going to continue to do that now my junior, senior year. I would not want to see a student hurt their GPA just to take as many honors courses as possible. But maybe you're really good at social studies, continue to take those honors, but make sure it's as educated as possible as well, is what I would kind of add to that.
And I'll jump into that too. And of course, we do like to see honors, AP, college and high school, all of that. It does show that you're willing to challenge yourself. but I'm gonna again take off this admissions recruiter hat and tell you to think about your mental health though. As much as these do look great and they will, an AP class will definitely help prepare you for college. You know, if you are, you know, if you're thinking of going to med school, if that's your dream, or, you know, you're maybe going to major in biology, then that's great. Take some of those AP classes. But, you know, don't overload yourself so much that you just completely are fried. We do like to see it. Please don't take that as don't take any AP classes. Challenge yourself, but know what's challenging and what's too much, because we definitely want your mental health to be the top priority.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I want to move on to the next topic with SAT and ACT. We talked about test optional. Several of you have said that you are test optional, and the question came up on the screen about, will you pretty much remain test optional after COVID? I guess my question to you right now is going to be this. We met with our juniors and our parents earlier this school year, and the question comes up is this. If you are test optional, which means the kid does not have to submit their scores, what does that do on your end? Does that force you to look at what else? Does that question make sense? So as admissions representative, if I'm a student not submitting my scores to you, what else would you be looking at? What would you put weight in to my application? What would you be looking for?
Yeah, so I know like on my end, I can't speak for every other college, but it's definitely gonna be more of that transcript is gonna have a lot more weight now. It's really going to be, what were your grade trends? Are they improving? Are they staying the same, or are they declining? And then on top of that, maybe all institutions don't require an essay, but the more information you can give us to better understand you as a student, as a person, the better. You know, a test score really does not define you as a human being, and we understand that, but at the same time, if you're not going to put it in there, then we need more information, because maybe you struggled one year. Well, we want to know, why did you struggle? On a transcript, we just see grades. We don't see you as a person, like in that specific moment. It's just a grade. Whenever you start giving us those essays, start talking to us, explaining, that's where that weight really comes from. So I think that's really important to recognize as well.
Thank you, AJ. Anyone else on that?
So at Alabama, I'll just tell you real quick, we do not take essays. So our students actually don't have that option. So now that we are test optional, we are really heavily weighting the core GPA. So we will recalculate every single student who does not submit a test score, and we will calculate out your math, English, science, social sciences, English, and foreign language. So then we really don't care. Not that we don't care, but we're not weighing so much on your gym class and your whatever, your computer class. So we're looking at your core. Now, for scholarship purposes, we wanted to still allow our students to have an opportunity to receive scholarships if they didn't have an option to test. So we heavily weighted that on a scholarship application, which listed leadership, community service, all of that type of stuff. So core classes, and then for scholarships, it was a separate scholarship application.
Similarly at Allegheny, I would say, much like Jen, we think the transcript is definitely the heart of the application, as many do. And we do put more weight on the transcript. However, we also have, in our rubric, the transcript and other things like your love of learning, service, leadership, kind of non-cognitive variables, have more weight, and then is put into your entire rubric as we're looking at your application for assessing your academics, but also assessing your merit scholarship at Allegheny as well, because that is part of the total review at Allegheny too.
Thank you, Linda.
think just the rule of thumb, especially because many of you are sophomores and juniors, and please, our counselors on the call, please jump in if I'm stepping out of turn, but I think you need to move forward, assuming that some schools are going to go back to requiring tests. You will likely want to take those tests, and obviously you'll learn through your school counselors what they advise and which tests to do and how often to do it. But I am hopeful that overwhelmingly more schools are going to go test optional or test blind for that matter in the future, because we have learned through this process that they are not as relevant. And so we're hoping that will happen. But I do think it's important to keep an open mind, still take the tests when they are available to you, and to proceed as planned, because it's just hard to know, especially for the sophomores, if we have any on the call, what things may be for the most select schools that are just extending for 1 year, if not 2.
And I would say also along the lines of what tests to take and when. Typically in your junior year, you would take choose to take a test, SAT or ACT. I would say that if you're struggling with knowing which one to take both of them in your junior year, and then look to see which one you like better and which one you've done better on. And then choose to take that one senior year if you like. I would say, in my years of experience, I would say taking them more than 2 or 3 times is usually not going to change your score much. And so I would, after that, decide not to take them any longer. And we super score at Allegheny, so it doesn't matter when you take them. We will super score all of your scores, and then go from there if you are someone that is submitting your scores.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your input on that. Michael, can I pass this over to you now?
Oh, I'd love that. I like to call this the meat and potatoes of the program when we get into the letters of recommendations and things like that. So can we get into the letters of recommendation? Like, how many do you guys usually recommend? As a school counselor, I'm usually telling the students at the very maximum 2 teacher recommendations, maybe an outside recommendation if the particular colleges want it, and like for academic, and then maybe a character letter of recommendation. So whoever would like to take that and start off with the recommendation talk.
So I can provide an answer from Elon's context here. We actually do not require a letter of recommendations, but in reading applications, most students will still choose to do so. And I think it's a good thing to do so if you do have individuals in your life that you believe will be able to advocate for you adequately in that way to further your application. I've seen anywhere from 2 to 6 letter recommendations, but kind of keeping it at that. I think 2 is really that sweet number there. Those 2 letter recommendations will be able, especially if they're strong recommendations with individuals who you've really had lots of experiences with, who know you. My piece of advice is always to pick a recommender who actually knows you, who can speak highly of you, who you've engaged with and really interacted with, because then they'll be able to really give us that full picture of who you are outside of what we've heard in your application and from someone else. So be really selective in who you choose to advocate for you. I think that's a really important factor there as well. On the counselor side, we do require school reports. And with that school report, we do require a counselor recommendation as well. So counselor recommendation gives us context in that lens. And then if you'd like to, it's not required, but I always advise students, if you can, definitely do. It helps in the application review process. 2, I think, is a good number there as well.
At Allegheny, we require 1 counselor recommendation, of course, and then 1 teacher recommendation. For many students, we will see additional recommendations, and I would say, yeah, up to 3 possibly is fine, as long as those people know you in a different way. Sometimes we do have students who are sending in like an advisor, asking an advisor, not someone that has taught them. And they, of course, will know you differently than other teachers. Maybe a pastor or an employer know you in a different way too. So if you are thinking you want additional, then do that. And definitely from a core class teacher, I would recommend.
I would assume this is common knowledge, but the person writing the letter should not be related to you in any way, shape, or form. In regards to grandma, aunt, uncle, you'd be surprised with what students think are a respectable individual to write their letter of recommendation. So yeah, do avoid family members if at all possible.
Okay,
I'd like to add one thing. I would say as far as the timing, since of course, juniors are now getting to, just starting the end of their junior year, ask a teacher to for a recommendation, prior to the end of your school year. So, so they can think about it. They can, if they would like to say no, and then you can ask another teacher, because they get bombarded at the beginning of the fall semester. And so that might be a good rule of thumb to think about doing at the end of your junior year.
Let me just jump in real quick. Sorry, because as a school who does not require letters of recommendation, please don't bother your teachers, counselors to write you one. We get almost 40,000 applications every year. So we don't typically have somebody to read them. So if a school does not require a letter of recommendation, you can check with them to see if it will help or will help in your situation, or maybe if it's a smaller school. But for Alabama, please don't bother your teacher or counselor. We don't need one. And you're welcome.
All right, so we're going to move into my favorite part, the essay portion, because if you're looking at a holistic approach to the admission process, I'm sure that this plays a part in that acceptance rate. So can you talk about, what you're looking for in a particular essay, length maybe? Also, maybe if you could share an essay that was, a great essay that was accepted, and maybe an essay that was almost there, but you couldn't take them basically because of an essay. So I'll leave it to the floor.
I think personally, where I'm looking at essays, the more words does not mean it's a better essay. So personally, if it's a single page and it is a strongly worded essay and it's going to really get and convey the growth that you had as a student or an obstacle that you had to overcome, that's going to be more beneficial than just writing to write. I think a lot of times what kind of resonates more for me whenever I'm reading them is a student faced an obstacle, they overcame that obstacle, and that's how they got to the point that they want to pursue some type of degree. And even sometimes it's not related to a degree, and that's okay too. Like maybe your grades took a little bit of a hit and you want to explain why that was. And you can say about how you came out better on the other end. I think that really being strategic in your writing, making sure it's not too much, but just enough to show what you're trying to convey to us is the best thing. I think an essay that I personally didn't enjoy was whenever a student was doing it more of a written resume almost. It was, I went to middle school, then I went to high school. I really liked physics, but then I dropped physics. And then after physics, I realized that I really want to be an English teacher. And it was just kind of all over the place. And it wasn't really to the point. We like to know why you want to study it or what obstacle it was, but now I'm just kind of reiterating, but that's get to the point and make sure it's resounding and it makes sense.
The essay is by far my favorite part of the application, and I know we've turned that word holistic around a few times here this evening, but it does give me as the counselor an opportunity to get to know my student besides just the X's and O's that are on a piece of paper. A student submits a GPA, the student submits a phone number, the student submits a social security number. That tells me very little about that student. The essay is the opportunity for me to kind of learn who that student is, what their value system is, leadership opportunities, maybe more specifically, not every applicant that I read is a 4.0. And so being able to have a student who understands that, recognizes it, and owns it from the very beginning gives me an opportunity to say, did the student have growth? All right. Maybe the academic component doesn't reflect who they are as a person today, as a high school senior, as the transcript reflects the person that they were as a high school freshman three years ago. And maybe there's a disconnect there. The student is able to kind of own and take that on. And again, I'm a people person. I enjoy that counselor aspect of my role and responsibility in admissions. It's what drives me, helps me give students availability and getting them to the next level, and getting to know them besides the X's and O's are great. One of the strongest essays I've ever read had very little to do with the student's major. The student wanted to be a physical therapist. However, they had a passion for performing arts. They had a passion for theater. Their essay was focused on that they were shy, that they were quiet, and theater is what brought them out of their shell. It gave them their circle of friends. It gave them purpose in life. The student actually only wrote about a half a page. It was about 2-3 short paragraphs, but they also included a write-up from their local newspaper about the performance that they were in. By the time I finished that essay, it didn't matter that the young man wanted to be a physical therapist. I knew who he was. I knew what his fears were. I knew how he overcame them. And I knew what kind of made him tick in the long run, which was fantastic. One of the worst essays I've ever gotten was 12 pages long. It also had the word awesome in it about 80 times. I'll tell you what's not awesome is a 12-page essay that includes the word awesome 80 times. That young man just kind of shot himself in the foot for about 11 and a half pages. It showcased that where his reading level was, it showcased where his writing level was. And again, it wasn't something that I thought was indicative of the academic portfolio or profile that we were looking for as an incoming student. My other piece of advice, and I'll turn it over to everybody else, is be memorable in your essay. I know the constant idea is, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a physician assistant, so I'm going to title my essay, Why I Want to Be a Nurse by Susie Student. I'll be very blunt. I probably read 450 of those in the month of November, all right? And so being memorable, you know, some of those different essays of why I want to be X, Y, and Z start to kind of puddle into this pool of gray, and being able for students to separate themselves in terms of what they want or unique experience or whatnot will leave a memorable impression for me. So as I follow up with that student, being able to build on that connection besides just why I want to be a doctor, why I want to be a teacher, why I want to be a lawyer.
And just quick advice, just this week, the common application did come out with the prompts for the essay, if we all, you know, for those of you that are interested in the common application, and those did come out. So you can look at that on their blog and website, and there are 7 prompts. So there's a lot of variety in terms of what you can, you know, what subject and what angle that you can take to share a little bit about yourself, or for help for us to learn more about you that's not on that paper. And number 7 is a topic of your choice. So, you know, my advice is, and this is probably my teacher background, is start a sentence or 2 for each one of those. And one of the prompts is likely going to just become a little bit more natural for you and more exciting to write about, and continue to do that. And once you have an initial draft, hand that over to somebody who knows you well. You might not be ready to show it to mom and dad, but a friend, a neighbor, you know, someone that knows you well, that they can give you honest feedback about whether it actually sounds like you or you're trying to be someone that you're not. Because that authenticity is probably one of the most important things for us at Wooster. We're not looking for, you know, the best writing skills. We like to see that you at least proofed it before you sent it. But it really is, you know, really understanding a little bit more about your honest self, because here at Wooster, you're accepted for who you are. And so we want to learn a little bit more about you.
Anyone else?
I'll quickly add that advice that I give to students when a lot of times I get like, how do I start the essay? Like I have the prompt, but I don't know where to begin. And my biggest piece of advice is to really, and by starting early, you give yourself some time to really have that that window to really kind of figure out what it is that you want to convey through that essay. I always say, what story are you trying to tell? What do you want us to know about you through whichever prompt you tell? So you could pick the prompt about your greatest accomplishment, but what story, what is the purpose of that? What are we going to learn about you in you writing that? Or maybe you're choosing the one about your talent. Regardless of which prompt you choose, really take that time to reflect. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the essay, because in order to write a good essay, you really do need to go through that reflection process and really dig deeper there. And I also say, like, let your personality shine through that essay. The application is already question after question. You're filling in activities, all this. The essay is very well the opportunity for you to make that application stand out, especially speaking from Elon, because that is a big part of that, what we weigh in reviewing that application there. Not only your ability to write at a collegiate level, but how well are you able to answer the prompt? You can pick the prompt, but are you answering the prompt? So make sure those who review your essay are really making sure that that has been answered. But then also, do I feel like I've known you? Gotten to know you in a way that I haven't already just read in the application and things that you filled out there. So kind of using all of that as a starting point and a framework for you to begin that essay process. And it's okay to start over and rework it, because that's how you get to that end goal there, that masterpiece.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next one. I don't know if we need to talk too long about this, but do you prefer a resume? Like, do you want to receive some type of information on their resume? Is it necessary for a student to do that? Because I believe on the Common App, most of the students are actually typing that information in there anyway. And what's the student level of involvement with those activities? Is that important in the resume as well, if you need that? Anyone?
I would definitely say that you don't have to have a resume, but just make sure that you use the space that's available for you to convey how you spend your time and what's important to you. And don't be afraid to tell us something that isn't a sanctioned school activity, or even something many people don't know about you, right? So like, for instance, being a referee, at a Saturday morning basketball league or something for elementary students. That's not really an organization at your school, but it's something that you spend a lot of time doing and you're committed to. So I think, showing, I would much rather see a shorter list, but also if I'm having a conversation with you, to be able to have you be able to tell me a little bit about what that activity has meant to you, instead of saying, I went to one meeting, and not being able to really convey how that has, impacted your life. And so really a commitment to your activities is important, but it doesn't have to be a sanctioned activity. It can be helping, especially in these times. You've had a lot of creative ways to spend your time, helping neighbors, shoveling people's sidewalks that can't come out, picking up groceries for elderly neighbors. All of those things are important, and it tells us something about you. So don't be afraid to share it.
Okay, that's a pretty easy one. Here's another. I know I'm conscious of the time to get into these breakout rooms too. So real quickly, the Common App versus applying direct. I'm sure it really doesn't matter to you as long as you get an application. Some kids try and weigh, is it easier to do Common App? Because I think the Common App might be a little bit lengthy compared to applying direct. So can somebody take that one and answer that?
I think it depends on how many schools you're looking to apply to. Because if you apply direct, every single school is a little bit different, but typically it's like 10 to 15 minutes to do an application if you do it direct. I would recommend Common App if you're applying for 4 or more schools, just because I think it takes about 45 minutes whenever I did like a practice application myself. So 4 or more, Common App. If you're gonna be doing less than that, I would do apply direct, unless they don't have a direct app and they only use Common App.
Can I just add, we are not on the Common App right now, but if you are using the Common App, make sure you're applying to the right school. I know that sounds really silly. The University of Alabama at Birmingham is on the common application. That is a completely different school than the University of Alabama. And I'm sure there are other schools probably that have similar names as well. So just make sure that you are applying to the correct school.
The Common App is a great tool for, and we have over 800 members and as part of that nonprofit. So I definitely advise exploring the school list. And as AJ said, if there are, at least 2 or 3, if not 4 more schools that you're considering, it's worth starting your account. You can do most of your college search through the Common App. There's a lot of good information there. And then you can learn what the schools are requiring and their different deadlines. And it helps you manage that all in one place. And so understanding what schools may have supplemental essays, at Wooster, we do not have that, but each school does have what we call a member screen, where when you start to add us to your list of schools, there might be some short answer questions. Like we at Wooster have one that says, why are you interested in Wooster? And it's a pretty important question that we want you to answer. And so, taking the time to dig into those differences and those deadlines are important, but it's a great way to manage that all in one space.
I would also say, and I'm sure that your counselors will tell you this too, is make sure that they know what application you applied with to your individual schools. There are many times where I call a counselor from Bethel Park or Upper St. Clair and say, we didn't get this information from this student and they're frustrated. And they're like, well, we didn't know that they applied through your application and not the common application. And really the reality of it is, if you apply using Allegheny's application and your counselor uploads everything to the common application, we will never get that information. It's undeliverable. So it will basically be kind of held hostage in the common application because you didn't apply to Allegheny using the common application. So it's really important for the completion of your application materials so that we can review and notify you of a decision, that your counselors know how you applied so that we get the important information.
Thank you for that, Linda. I totally echo that, because there are kids that are out there just throwing it out there, and they don't let us know as the school counselors know. Both Upper St. Clair and Bethel Park do use Naviance. So that actually helps with that communication piece. So, but they still have to go in and request those transcripts or request those recommendations and things to go. So that's great. That's a great bit of advice. So thank you for that. Real quick, how many schools should the kids apply to? I know we're coming short to the end here. We want to get to this, but I don't think at this point, I know that a lot of schools, if it's a free application, I'm sure kids are going to throw it out there. So anybody want to take that? We just need one answer from somebody.
I'm not going to give you a direct number. However, I would remind students that the application process is a search process. And I believe it starts with where everybody is in the room right now, which is that data collecting phase where you're researching schools. And when you start to hear students who apply to 12, 13, 14 different schools, I think they completely bypass the research phase and jump right into the application phase, just because for the exact reason that you just said. Well, it's a free application. I'm just putting my hat in the ring. Do they even have your program? I don't know. Like I've had those conversations where it's like, I applied to your school. I want to be an architect. I'm like, we don't have that program, like I can't help you. Well, it was a free application. So understanding that research phase should narrow that down. And it's great to start with a dozen different places that are on your radar that you want to research, but that research should whittle it down to a very manageable number of whatever you think that is what's right for your situation. I'm not going to throw a number out there, but don't skip the initial step of research.
Thanks, Miles. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to the financial aid and scholarships. Again, I know we're short on time. Does applying early decision, does that affect the financial aid package? How does your school award some scholarships? You might be able to do that in some of the breakout sessions and talk about that. And how do the students apply for scholarships and financial aid and things like that?
I'm happy to kick it off. And I think
Thanks.
I'd like to answer the question about early decision, not as from a Wooster perspective, but just generally, is that I think it really depends on the school, how they handle early decision and how they package financially. So I do think you need to ask that question if you are considering early decision at a particular school and see how they answer that. Because in the Ron Lieber book that I mentioned earlier, I mean, the research that he's done, and it's very clear that some schools will take advantage of that opportunity with a binding agreement like early decision. At Wooster, that's not the case. You can have the same opportunity for both scholarship and need-based aid, no matter when you apply. We have actually many different windows where you can apply. We have early decision, early action, and regular decision. So we try to provide options based on when you're ready to go through that process and when you're ready to commit and enroll at an institution. So, you know, early decision is a unique process that's not for everybody, but it is a very powerful way to stand out in an application pool of thousands of students. And so if you've done your research and that school is your top choice, it's a great way to do it. And at Wooster, our agreement is very, very clear, as all schools should be, that if you're not satisfied with your financial aid package and scholarships that are offered to you at the time of admission under ED, you can be released from that agreement. Not all schools are very good about making that very clear, but that's actually under our best practices as an association of schools an association that we're all members of, that we really should be ethical about that process with you.
And I would say, as far as the timeline of financial aid, I mean, it's opened on, you know, October 1st. And so you can start, doing your financial, your FAFSA on October 1st. And some schools do require a CSS profile, but that's again another question to make sure your individual schools know about your individual schools, what they require. But your FAFSA, if the FAFSA opens October 1st, and you can definitely, indicate a school on your FAFSA well before you're admitted or even applied. And what that does is ease the timeline when you're admitted, because then everything can then flow from there and getting the financial aid package to you.
And then the final thing that I would just throw out there, because I know a lot of people ask about scholarships as well. Always just keep in mind that merit scholarships is typically just where it starts. There are thousands of scholarships out there. Work with your counselors, work with your community, go online, go to FastWeb, research that school's scholarships webpage. Merit is only where it starts. It doesn't mean it has to be where it ends. Research 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, whatever you think is good for you. That's the biggest recommendation I'll make too.
I also know college is expensive. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in the future. And I know for some students, when they see a price tag or a tuition dollar figure that's in a brochure or a website, sometimes they can be, intimidated. They can be scared. And they're like, well, $30,000. I've never seen $30,000. How am I supposed to pay $30,000? That is a baseline price. Every school across the country has a financial aid office. Every school across the country is going to help reward you for your hard work that you've put in over the course of the last 4 years of high school to help offset some of that cost with the good grades and activities and leadership that you have earned. My other recommendation is to have an open conversation of dialogue as a parent with your student. I mentioned that I was a first generation college kid, and when I went through this process, my mom kind of kept financial aid behind closed doors. I think she grew up in an era where you didn't talk about family income, you didn't talk about what the family made, you didn't talk about the dollar figures that were going on a FAFSA form. So I kind of went into college very blind. I didn't know what a scholarship was. I didn't know what a loan was. I didn't know what a grant was. I just kind of signed the form and off I went. And 4 years later, I was like, wait, I owe money? Like, said who? Like, my mom's like, no, that was a loan. And I was like, what do you mean? No, so understanding that process is kind of overwhelming to a 17 or an 18-year-old. And sometimes as a parent, you might just not know where to begin. I think by just starting with an open base of communication, understanding where the numbers are, what is a realistic dollar value that the family can put into a higher education cost will help also start navigating some of those conversations.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all your input on that. I'd like to take the time to thank all the representatives for giving your time tonight. Greatly, greatly appreciate this. Greg from Revolution Prep, thank you for helping to organize all this too from a technical perspective. Greatly appreciate it. Michael, again, thanks for joining us. I appreciate all your help and assistance in organizing this. To the students and parents, you should have received an email from Revolution Prep that gives you the breakout room links that you can go into at this point. So we're concluding the panel discussion as of now, but you can go into the breakout rooms and meet with these representatives. It might be one-on-one, it might be small group, but feel free to ask questions. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. Take care and stay healthy.
That link is posted in the
The chat?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's there
Thanks,
as
Greg.
well. Yep.
It's posted in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.